Hello and welcome to Deep Focus. My name is Ragav. This is Tom.
Hello.
And this is Florence.
Hello.
And today we're talking about Ex Machina.
Is it strange to have made something that hates you?
What were you doing with Ava?
Alright, so Ex Machina. What did you guys think? So, Florence, we'll start with you.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it, which is nice because it makes a difference from the slating I think we possibly gave the last film we reviewed together.
Yeah.
So I seem like less of a sourpuss. But I mean, it's very difficult to sum up all in one, but I thought I was always on the edge of my seat. It's clever sci-fi in that there's sort of a lot of symbolism and metaphor going on. And it looks and sounds beautiful. So those three things kind of together just make a fantastic kind of 3D experience, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we'll go granular.
Wait, 3D experience?
As in like three-dimensional in my seat, like I felt I felt like I was there because
I thought I missed that.
metaphorically 3D rather than 2D, because like not only are you kind of seeing something that's visually interesting, the sounds are beautiful, like those sort of little sounds that Ava, the character, makes all the time when she's moving. It's really kind of envelops you, and it's very sort of it's very pleasing actually, and you kind of get this sort of visceral attraction, feel. So I thought that was fantastic, and then all of the sort of the symbolism and the fantastic script as well. So with all of those things, you kind of can't help but feel, really kind of in the environment. So
yeah, I thought so too. Tom, you're a sound recordist as well as
I'm
editor.
a student.
Yeah. But
so I'm still learning, but
so I guess you can appreciate
the sound design was very good. I think one of the things as well is that when the main protagonist, I've forgotten his name.
Caleb.
When he's always with Ava, there's always like the sound of her heart beating throughout the scenes. I presume it's her heart, like this weird like metallic beat.
Oh, okay. I never really picked up on that.
When I watched it, I watched with really bassy speakers. It makes the whole scene really uncomfortable when they're talking to each other. So that's quite effective.
So visually, I thought, like you said, it's a very visually adept film. It looks great. I think it uses kind of the visual grammar of film very well. So, for instance, a lot of the time when, like you say, when Caleb and Ava are talking to each other, they're talking in this kind of room where they're split off from each other. But if you notice the way it's shot, there's always a kind of glass in the middle, and it creates this line across frame.
And have you noticed he's always in the smaller box, which is really interesting symbolically. I think it not only does it foreshadow what is to come later. I don't know if we're spoiling.
No. It's
but
full spoilers.
It totally, foreshadows what's to come later. But also, even though she's the one that's being, invigilated, actually. The visual symbolism of the way it's made up actually flips it back, and almost he's the one actually being scrutinised and interrogated.
I picked up on the line, but I never picked up on I should have picked up on that. It creates a good power dynamic, and again, it's very visual. It's not, it's done very well through the dialogue, but I think if you got that kind of extra element, which is the visual element, you might as well use it to convey that same information. So I thought that was very good. What about you? What is your thoughts on the kind of the whole visual style of it? And
it's a very pretty film. I'm not much of the visuals. It's a very good film, and I think use of colours as well. Like when it goes into lockdown and it's all red.
However, you would not be wasting your time if you were dancing with her. Go ahead, dance with her. Dance with her. No? You don't like dancing?
Okay, well, talking of, the red and the menacing environment, it does contribute to the menacing environment. However, if you notice, whenever the power cuts out and the place goes on lockdown, that is the only time Caleb gets to talk to Ava one-on-one without Nathan listening in. And when they're having their conversation later and she's quizzing him, she says, "What's your favourite colour?" And his automatic response is to say red.
Yeah.
And I wonder whether actually that's a sort of slight subconscious tell that he is actually falling in love with this machine. So I don't know, on one level I thought the symbolism of that was really interesting, and I don't know whether I'm just maybe making it up or whether that was an intentional thing. Who knows?
That feels intentional.
There's a lot that I know flew over my head. I'm sure I flew over my head. I do, I do understand what it's trying to say. But I'm sure there's films like these which are very cerebral, which I know, like I watched Blade Runner I wish I had to watch a bunch of times before I was like, oh, okay, that's what's happening. But it felt a lot like that sometimes. But like, what did you think when it came to? So we talked about the color and composition, but the whole setting and the way. I found it very weird that he has this kind of house which is very geometric and it's very, lots of squares and triangles and shapes like that, but it's surrounded by a very natural environment.
Yeah.
So I like that kind of contrast between nature and kind of man-made, constructed world. So,
and in a way, that's what's being questioned in the film as well. What is the difference between a man-made and nature? And one of the things that kept me on my seat the whole time was that I love the way that we get to break out of that very enclosed space. For the viewer, it's the same in any other discipline. In a script, say you need a break between lots of dialogue. Visually, you need a break between that enclosed environment. And there's beautiful vistas of what is actually Norway. Kept me on the edge of my seat. I wanted more, and you never quite get to sort of feed on that lovely environment. You always get to see a glimpse, and then we're back in the room, and it's like, and that was one of those things that kept me watching.
Yeah, and at the end when Ava escapes, it is very cathartic to kind of see like, oh, we're out of that kind of claustrophobic. It's very again, because the last few scenes of the film are very red and intense, and suddenly you're out and you're like, oh,
that stabbing scene there.
Yeah, I know.
It's so like subtle and like. It's like, I'm stabbing you.
So I think it's a good time to talk about the performances in the film, because I think like everyone now in that film is, there's one character who's the lesser AI, who I don't even know her name.
But the assistant.
The assistant AI, not Ava.
Kyoko,
right?
Yeah.
So other than her, all of them have gone on to do great films. 2 of them are in Star Wars.
It's a British film. Technically, because obviously Oscar Isaac, he's British.
Is he? Okay.
I think he's British, and then the main character,
he was
he's
fantastic.
British as well, because he was in Black Mirror before.
Yeah.
But like, even though like and it's written and directed by Alex Garland, who's British as well. But then like they got American accents and like it's set in America. It's sort of that American British hybrid again.
Yeah.
Kind of thing where it's like
I
won the BAFTA for Best British Film.
Did
But anyway, sorry, I'm going off the topic. But yeah,
it's fine.
what were we talking about? The performance.
The performances.
I thought Oscar Isaac was fantastic. He's so unhinged, isn't he? Like, you can tell he's lost his touch with humanity, which again is interesting given what he's trying to do.
He does have the funniest lines as
well. I thought he had the most.
He's the villain. He's the funniest.
I thought he had the most kind of magnetic performance. I thought he was the one I enjoyed watching the most. The other two I like the kind of interplay between them. Yeah. But on their own, they were quite. They were interesting. Don't get me wrong, none of them were bad. But I just was like, if I was going to watch only one of them, it would be Oscar Isaac's character, because it's just so...
punch in the bag every time.
He's just so... Like, it's very sporadic and excitable, but you kind of see... He's very controlled as well.
He's menacing again, which is one of those. Yeah. And as soon as and what I loved about that was that you need all 3 people to kind of make the dynamic work. And what when the film first starts off, you're rooting for he and Caleb to get on because it's so enclosed. You're like, oh my god, you're nervous on his behalf. But of course, when the relationship starts to sour, it's counterbalanced with the blossoming of his relationship with Ava, which is, this kind of nice counterbalance that keeps everything going, but also keeps you again watching, always on the edge of your seat, wondering what's going to happen, when's it going to kick off. Yeah. So I thought the dynamic was beautifully balanced.
I thought that too. Yeah, I thought it's very with villains especially. It's some of our favorite villains, which we see in. TV and movies are the ones who just suddenly explode. They're like very, very friendly. Otherwise, like we like them until we don't like them. Essentially, is how I think of a good villain. Like, for instance, the Joker in Dark Knight is one of my favorite villains. He'll come into a scene, like one of the first scenes he enters. He's very friendly to everyone, and then he just murders someone, smashes them onto a table. Like this, you have. Oscar Isaac's character, I think his opening scene is him with a punching bag, which kind of sets his tone. But he's also he comes in, he's like one of those bros, just like, yo man, how you doing? Have a beer, all that kind of thing. And you're like, oh, it's very down to earth. You think this big CEO, and then obviously you have these moments where he just his expression just changes. Like he's like this, and he's like, oh. And you're like, oh dear.
It's explosive, very much.
And it's very intimidating without actually doing much. And I thought that was very powerful. If someone can do that just with a facial expression and he's also, his whole body is kind of much more bulkier than in other films. So he's physically intimidating.
Really. Like compared to him saying Star Wars or
I thought
Inside Llewyn Davis.
Yeah.
Like,
he's much
very different.
Yeah, he's much.
It feels very different.
Yeah, and the performance is very different as well. Obviously.
Very good.
Yeah, and then there's Domhnall Gleeson, who plays a character I think he plays a lot, which is
sort of nerdy.
Yeah, I think Star Wars is the only film I've seen him really not play that kind of like friendly, kind of unsure character.
Yeah, the good guy, kind of quite innocent as well, isn't he?
He does a good job because it's more or less a very bland role in a way. Like he's more just being played the whole time, but he does a good job of giving it more depth.
But I think the point was that he was just a guy at the end because he thinks.
But he makes him interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not just. Anyone else could have played and just been the guy. But he went a bit. He just made you a bit more.
There are some parts though that, and it's not his acting by any stretch, but I really didn't find the whole where he sort of cuts himself. That I don't really find that believable as part of his character. I think it's such an extreme thing to do for someone who's so mild mannered, and so I don't know. Like I kind of feel like someone like him would have found a cleverer way to do that. I don't know.
I was reading an interview with Alex Garland, and I think he wrote that. Well, he wrote it, right? He wrote that scene to dispel any myth or like theory that he was in fact another AI. So
doing that whole Blade Runner thing where it's
exactly.
Like,
so he just did that just to kind of take that element away from it, just kind of focus it on this kind of relationship between these three people. But
it was a clever thing to do because at first I was like, "What's he doing that for?"
No. I'll be honest.
Moving 5 seconds behind, but I just did within the context of the character and his behaviour patterns. I didn't find that.
I agree.
But similarly, another really unbleevable thing is the helicopter at the end. I'm sorry, but like with the guy that's taken there in the helicopter, be like, mate, you're wearing a dress. why would he not be like, where's that guy? I didn't really find that very believable. I'm sure she'd have a story or whatever, but when you've got to think about it kind of beyond the closing of the film, that's a tell that it's not sitting comfortably with you within the narrative.
Philosophically, the film is also very rich. It's it's got loads of things about like the cave. It's got things about more modern concepts like. There's less about philosophy and more about just a theme. It's a privacy.
I love the dialogue. I really, really do.
The dialogue is great, and it just kind of weaves. Sometimes I think it's a bit heavy-handed the way it talks about like there's scenes where he's like, "What is love?" and all that kind of stuff.
I think it's existential.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit overt. Like I don't mind a film having those kind of concepts in it, but I would prefer it to be shown maybe or expressed, not just like, oh, we're just going to say it.
Yeah. You kind of, I wanted to, a bit like how you were saying you need to watch it 2 or 3 times, I kind of wanted to watch the film with the screenplay in front of me so that I could kind of, really like investigate that narrative a little bit like you would in an English literature class, kind of pick apart and can we talk about the Jackson Pollock?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love that.
I was
as someone that studied art history, that's a big. Okay. So I loved that. I thought that was really great. The way that I don't know if you remember the section where they go into the Jackson Pollock painting and he's trying to get Caleb to kind of loosen up and stop being so analytical about everything. And he says, "What would Pollock have done if he couldn't empty his mind first before he painted?" And there's a pause, and it's beautifully timed as well, which is another great thing about this film, timing and pacing. And Caleb goes, he wouldn't have painted a single thing. And I haven't quite come to my own conclusions as to that really, but I guess in a film that's all about thought and thinking and intelligence, that questioning, actually the most important thing is to clear your mind. I think maybe the question is, can a computer clear their mind?
That was what I got from it, which was like...
And it was great. I was like, this is so exciting. I want to think about this.
Yeah, I got something similar, which is like, they're essentially saying, can a robot just do something? A human can just do something, but can a robot be like, I'm just going to...
Automatic impulse.
Yeah, exactly, But I like the way that scene was framed, because he's standing, the whole frame is just the Jackson Pollock painting and him in the centre, and it kind of shows what's going on inside his head almost. Like, he's a bit all over the place. He's literally that, almost an embodiment of that automatic impulse.
Absolutely.
And I quite like that. Because he's very sporadic. He's like, I'm just going to do this. And, he goes and does it.
Yeah.
So then, that aside, did anyone pick up on like any of the what was the kind of visual motifs that you saw? Like I like a lot of the corridor scenes, for example, very boxed in.
Boxes, which again, we were saying earlier when we just started the way that he's always in the smaller box, and it's all right. I think the boxes and it's very, very symbolic. Certainly.
I thought. Sorry.
It's very claustrophobic.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, and then obviously, then when you get outside, it does go. You just kind of, it's a weight off your shoulders. You feel much more calm, I guess.
It gets beautifully interspersed with the landscape.
Yeah. I did like the use of colour. Because.
But yeah, I was so shocked when I found that was filmed out in Norway. I was like, wow, that's obviously fantastic, tourism for Norway. Yeah. I'm booking my flight next week, I think.
Oh god, I didn't quite like all of, because the film kind of sometimes felt a bit. It didn't quite. The tone wasn't consistent for me.
Oh, okay.
Because there's sometimes, obviously, there's a great bit where they just start dancing, and it's very, it's very scary and very surreal.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, why? Because you just see this person who you're starting to see the instability of this character, of Oscar Isaac's character, and you're like, oh, he's just broken into dance. Oh dear.
But it's a really sort of menacing dance. But in a way, it's sort of
it's all red as well. So,
and I think
it's almost demonic.
And also it's that sort of weird intensity of, like, I think it borrowed a little from obviously that very famous dance scene in Pulp Fiction where they're both sort of jiving, and that's one of those beautiful dances you can do because it allows your eyes and your whole head to maintain. Because, and it was very sort of menacing, but and I wasn't quite sure what it was for.
And then but I guess it created that like whole like what we're talking about. It made us feel a bit afraid and intimidated. Like,
it's slightly comic, it's a black comic moment, I
found it very funny.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it, and again, I think that was what was nice about the film, to keep it compelling, to keep it fresh, we're always bouncing between.
Yeah, but I did sometimes find something would happen. I'd be like, oh, that's like, I didn't know this was the kind of tone, but again, it's I find it difficult to really talk about that because it feels right at the same time. Like I'm surprised by it, and I don't know if it's a bad thing. Is what I'd say. So that's my opinion on like the tone, because it is sometimes very comic, and sometimes it's obviously very cerebral and very intense. So it's structurally the film kind of how it works is it's in days of interviews. So it's like he will talk to Ava, and the relationship. It's essentially he talks to Ava, and then him and Oscar Isaac have a chat about the.
Well, and then one of the main things to mention is whenever he's talking to Ava in their sessions, which is what the film is broken up to, almost like in chapters, he's always being monitored and watched by Oscar Isaac's character Nathan. Yeah.
So I think, and then obviously there's these breaks, like we said, where it becomes like a red room, and they get to talk kind of uninhibited by the
unmonitored.
Yeah, and because of that, they can just say whatever they want to each other. So yeah, what do you think? How did that kind of help with the whole dynamic of the film? How did it? Because I think it made it very.
It was like being in one of those cars where you've got like a boost on the accelerator. So do you know what I mean? Or you're going along at 50 miles an hour, and then you hit the boost button for a bit, and the sort of the what's going on kind of accelerates you up to 110% for a moment. I think that's really where the main progressions in the narrative are, and until it sort of really all kicks off at the end. So that. Really important.
So what did you? Sorry.
I think the fact that it says session 1, session 2. I think it makes you anticipate the next one, so it keeps you engaged.
That's what I was
purely on that reason, because it's like, oh, that's the first session. I want to know how session 2 goes, and then sort of like how Tarantino does like his chapter titles, where he's like, oh, chapter 3,
Yeah.
And so it keeps you engaged, and it's like, oh, the final chapter. It's like, oh, we're at the ending now.
Yeah.
So, let's see what
happens. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
It keeps you anticipated and engaged with that.
It did.
In a very it's just. Session
it's not over.
It's like, okay, I want to see that.
Yeah, I did quite like that kind of structure. Put it that way. It's very clean, and it's very.
Yeah, it's a very clean film.
Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Yeah.
But yeah, any more thoughts when it comes to anything? Go.
Okay, hands up. Who would actually, who's attracted to Ava? Because
no,
I think I would. I'd have fallen. I'd have fallen.
Probably if I was there, maybe. But she really creeped me out.
It did. It was quite creepy when they take bits of each other, because I think they.
You got a nice face, but you just like I just see you. You know what I mean? Like you just.
Yeah.
But that's the thing as well, when
That's-
the mesh in certain lights, actually it becomes almost solid. So you do start, even though you can see through her. I think the sort of testimony to the power of the script and her character and the way actually she moves is you are actually so compelled by it that I think by the end, even though you can see through her, you stop. You do forget that she is the robot. I think at times, and what's her name? Is it Alicia, the actress?
Yeah.
She's got this fantastic balletic movement. She's very elegant.
No, she's very good.
And in the same way that Oscar Isaac has completely kind of put on this, he's obviously trained or maybe like bulked up for this role to be this kind of like bear-like, Nathan.
Yeah.
She again, her physicality is a big part of the character, just as much as the dialogue and the way she talks. No, so I thought it was a fantastic performance by her, and I'm afraid I fancied it at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it is very creepy when because essentially she become. I think she's fully naked, but then she starts taking bits off her, and that's very disconcerting because you're very. It's got this whole sexual undertone, and suddenly you're like, well, obviously I'm attracted to humans, and then suddenly she starts taking bits off her, and you're like, oh, like what does that mean? So I guess it gets the audience in a way to ask a question like, what is it to be a human almost? Like, is it just that she looks like one?
Yeah.
Or is it, because now she's just taking those bits off.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I thought that was quite interesting. Tom, do you have any final thoughts?
Well, I think with that dance scene, I think Alex Garland was like, you know what, I want a dance scene. I'm gonna write one in, and everyone's gonna be like, oh, what's the meaning of the dance scene? He's like, there is no meaning. I just wanted them to start dancing.
I think
sometimes writers do that. It's like, I want a scene where there's popcorn.
And I think it provided a much needed change of tone.
Yeah. I think it worked.
Yeah, and in
I
final
was quite
thoughts,
enjoying that scene.
I know, I enjoyed that scene too. It's very fun. Yeah, it is. But I think it was disconcerting. And that's what I think the main purpose of it was, just to kind of make you feel a bit afraid almost. But what were you? Any final thoughts?
My final thoughts really would just be to sum it up. Like, I think it's a brilliant, really sort of clever sci-fi, fantastic script, beautifully shot, well paced, interesting, asks big questions, lovely, really symbolic. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was. I really love films where they use visual language. I don't think it's a bit wasteful. I think if you have I see a lot of films like the
Spotlight.
Spotlight is very
well, where there's like too many incidentals, and with one of these films, it's almost like a painting. You get the idea that there is nothing in there by accident.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
whereas other lazy films, maybe
like for instance, you saying Spotlight. I was going to mention Imitation Game, which I watched last year, and everyone was raving, but I was like, but it's just so bland. I felt just like it didn't. It was just very much like And I really like the way Ex Machina used kind of colour and just a whole visual medium rather than just using it as a platform.
It's a small film, but it's got big themes. Yeah, which I like those kinds of stories.
So brilliant.
It's like one location, and then all these
and
big,
it fills it with lots of
humanity, and social media, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a very modern film. I think it's one of those things which will survive for a very long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so anyway, let's move on to what we've been watching. So Tom, what have you been watching?
I watched Ex Machina last night.
Right, so what do you think of Ex Machina? Like the visuals?
I think the visuals are great, and the
I really like the way they use boxes. And one of them's smaller.
Yeah.
No, but seriously.
I'm stealing my points.
What else have I? What do you mean? What have I watched before that? I did watch Spotlight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I watched Spotlight too. Have you watched Spotlight?
No. I don't even know what it is.
You don't know? Is it nominated for an Oscar?
Nominated for many Oscars.
Is it best film?
Best picture.
Best picture.
And best adapted screenplay, I think.
Well, I mean, I'm not. I was.
It's a good film, It's a talky. It's just lots of talking, but I love those kind of films.
I think you and me we watched it, and we're not together, but we watched it.
Yeah, we watched Room together.
We watched Room together. That's a different one. But what's it called? We did notice a lot of audio issues, and you're.
Really? Oh no, that's the worst, isn't
it?
it?
The radio mics. Yeah, there's like weird distortion.
There was. I think they had.
Or like frequency issues.
Yeah, I think we come to the conclusion there's like a limiter on it, and every time it peaks, they just cut it out. Yeah, so
it's very strange.
It is very. Yeah, it's like this is a
I feel
big.
more confident now, so I'm still learning. I'm like, well, if I screw up, it's okay because I screwed up. So it's like...
Yeah. Well, have you watched any? Because again, it's like Oscar season. There's loads of, I guess big popular films going on.
Can I talk about a television thing?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm going to probably
Fantastic.
talk about television.
So I've been watching Happy Valley. So it's the sort of police crime drama, which is it's so tense. It's really tantalisingly tense.
It was really controversial, wasn't it, the first series because of its violence?
And it that hasn't really let up. It's very violent. There's a lot of
like for myself, I haven't watched it or heard of it. So what if you could sum it up?
So it's sort of set in a Yorkshire town, and it follows the main protagonists are the members of the local police force. The two main ones are one lady police officer who's under investigation because a prostitute has been murdered in the area, and they think it might be but her. There's also a guy in prison who's kind of got it in for her. He's coincidentally, he's the pretty boy in War and Peace. Looks completely different without the sort of foppish hair and the 18th century sort of Mr. Darcy neck collar. And then you've got also one of the senior members of the police force who's having an affair. So there's all this kind of
So it's
melting
like a small
pot.
town kind of.
Yeah,
right.
but
Like
you
a
know,
lot like Broadchurch.
yeah, really, and
because
these relationships is very volatile, and you don't really know who's. It's the sort of jeopardy is hanging over for every single
So
character.
basically, the idea is one of them is the murderer, essentially.
Well, no, I mean there's the murderer for there's a couple of murders that happen.
Okay, right.
So it's sort of constantly going, but you know that one of the guys, the second murder is committed by one of the senior police members who's having this affair. It's the woman he's having an affair with. So, but you know, you're constantly like, oh, is he going to get found out? As his whole life is crashing down around him. So it's very, very tense and quite tiring almost
you watched it?
emotionally.
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
But I think there's some fantastic acting in it, and again the tension is never. It's great, but it's never so great, and yet again, you know, it just keeps you on the edge of your seat. So I think it's a fantastic.
Yeah,
little,
I watched Broadchurch, which I don't know if it's just similar. I actually haven't.
I think it's quite different.
Okay, right.
Just from what I've been told.
Okay, right.
But in terms of the tension,
Yeah. I thought Broadchurch was. I watched a bit of the second series. I didn't really get into it.
No, it wasn't very good.
No, but the first
Really?
series.
I didn't actually watch Broadchurch.
Yeah, I just didn't think it needed
Well,
it.
they start. Yeah, you know the first episode of the second series, and they sort of undo everything that the first series was about.
They
and then
kind
just
of
carried it on.
retread. Yeah, I
it's
just didn't
like,
think.
oh.
I just didn't think it was.
They made the mistake of calling it Broadchurch because it means it always has to be set in Broadchurch.
Yeah, it didn't.
Whereas like the BBC have The Missing, and like
Yeah.
they can go anywhere with
Yeah.
that because it's like it's called The Missing. It could be about anything that goes missing.
Yeah. So.
The guy's wallet goes
It's a
missing.
good point.
Oh god.
When they really start running out of ideas.
But the show I've been watching recently is Fargo, the TV show.
Oh yeah,
not
it's
the
on my
movie.
list.
There's first season is on Netflix, at least in the UK, and that's great. Obviously, it's got Martin Freeman, Billy Bob Thornton, and a couple of other kind of high profile. It's got
the Coen Brothers, isn't he?
Yeah,
Mary
yeah.
wasn't there. Yeah.
and then there's also the second series, which is also kind of got a couple of stars. It's got Jesse Plemons from Breaking Bad. He's neither.
Who was he in Breaking Bad?
He was so in the fifth series. He's Walter White's kind of new protege.
Oh, spoilers.
Oh yeah.
New protege.
Forgot about
He gets
that
a
bit,
new
yeah.
one. Gosh.
It's not that bad, honestly. But yeah, it's got Jesse Plemons, it's got Kirsten Dunst, it's got
Kirsten Dunst.
Kirsten Dunst.
From
Am I saying?
Spider-Man.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Was I saying it wrong?
She's a good actress.
Yeah.
Doesn't do much though.
Yeah, I haven't seen her around for quite a while actually. Now you
Yeah.
mention it. But yeah, I've been watching that, and obviously I've just gotten into the second series, but the first series is great. It's one of Breaking Bad and Fargo had the same issue for me, whereas the last couple of episodes feel a bit detached
Oh really?
from like. So you watched the whole of Breaking Bad? Or?
Oh yes, it took over
Okay.
my life for a very
But,
long
like,
time.
you understand the last two episodes felt very
Yeah.
detached from the main story because it takes a break and then it's like
Yeah.
this is just to wrap it up.
But also that's when all of the can we swear?
Yeah, fuck
That's
it.
when all the shit's all the shit's kicking off. So
Yeah.
of course it's going to feel very different.
Yeah.
It's it's Breaking Bad on on steroids because
Yeah.
it's the culmination
Yeah, yeah.
of the last two things. So of course they're going to feel very different.
But the same happens with Fargo, where the last episode is just it's not fully detached, obviously, but it's a bit more. It kind of starts again, and I always have an issue with that. Whereas I like.
But why detached? What in the narrative?
In the narrative,
the behaviour
there's
of the characters doesn't feel quite right.
No. As in, like, because in Breaking Bad, for instance, they have like a little small time gap.
Yeah.
And then he comes back, and it's like a completely different feel for the show. It doesn't feel like it arced properly. It always feels
Yeah.
like there's a kind of kink in the arc.
Ah, okay. Yes,
And
no, I do see what you mean.
with Fargo, it's the same thing because there's another time jump, and it felt like they just felt like this disconnect between where we were and where we ended up. Was quite
I think
dramatic.
Yeah, it's the similar way maybe in music you have a perfect cadence and then you've got, do you know what I mean? You've got like different ways
like
that
it just breaks into rap
cadence, which is it's maybe not quite
But yeah, so you see, we watched Room as well, and have you watched Room or read Room? Okay. What do you think of Room?
Room's good. It's very good. I preferred it than The Revenant. Even though everyone critics bang on about The Revenant, but audiences.
Sum it up for me. What's the
Revenant? Or
Room?
Room.
You want
Room. Oh, it's about I hate synopsises, but it's about a mother and her son who are trying to get out of a room. Okay. Basically, that's what I'm going to say to avoid spoiling.
Yeah.
Next time you can do it in the medium of dance. I'll accept that.
Yeah.
Or sign
I'll bring the
language.
lid down.
Okay. Yeah, but no, it was good. Because I know you were saying the book is from the boy's perspective.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
And I felt like with the film that there's a lot of complex issues in the film, but they can't really deal with it because it's
I thought that was
written from the boy's perspective. Like, it's actually really traumatic.
Yeah,
but it's very like plowed over. It's like, oh yeah, you know. Like,
no, I don't think it's
at the end with the hair. It's like, yeah, look.
Yeah, I don't think it's very. It's like diminishing the issues. I think it's actually very intelligently done.
Yeah,
because it's actually from the boy's perspective. The audience knows what's happening.
Yeah, which is a problem. Yeah, I felt like the film was from both their perspectives.
Yeah, there were times I was like,
from what I've gathered, is entirely from the boy's perspective.
Yeah, so, I read the book years ago, so I don't want to make.
I just feel like that's kind of one of the issues.
Okay.
But I mean, at the middle, with the truck.
Oh yeah.
I was just like, oh.
Yeah, I know.
And then I thought, oh, I can end here now. And then it goes on for like another hour.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
it does.
It's still going.
There's there's a lot to that film. It's one of those films where it's again a quite small story.
Yeah, it's better than The Revenant.
I thought so too. Yeah, I just didn't really like the Revenant looks much better.
Revenant, yeah,
and I think
it's visually very exciting, but the story's just not there.
I didn't like the Room's visuals. There's too much handheld for me, and I'm not a big fan of handheld. But anyway, so yeah. Anyway, we're going to finish up now. So, Florence, why don't you tell us, what you've been working on? If there's anything we can find you on the web, you've got a Twitter or...
Absolutely. So, still work in progress. Is the Drinks video blog project that I'm going to start hopefully in a month or so when work is less busy. That will be called A Quick Sip, and it'll be all about kind of exciting historic booze, in fact, and things nice ways on the cheap to drink well. Other than that, I'm working on a Victorian living history series for the BBC, which should be out later this year.
Oh, that's great. And Tom, like you said, are you working on anything
still
particular?
Studying.
Okay,
nothing in particular. We're shooting our major dramas next week, which I'm sound recording for.
Yeah.
So lots of locations, a lot of location sound, good fun.
Yeah.
Location sound, waiting for the planes to pass by, but yeah, that's about it. And then I'm editing the next one after that, which will be in May.
And I'm obviously Deep Focus is kind of my project. So on this channel, I'm going to put up a couple of video reviews of films I've been watching, and I've just been doing some camera work here and there. But anyway, thanks for watching. Next week we'll be talking about. I think it's either The Social Network or Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell.
So we will we'll leave you there, and see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.